Hi, and welcome back to the Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Director of NRG Resourcing, Marcus Nanson. And I wanted to get Marcus onto the podcast. I wanted to understand about how he got into recruitment, how he came to specialise in mortgage broking recruitment. We just really understand what he does, what his process is, what he looks for in a firm he's recruiting for, what's the process. Also, as well, from a candidate's point of view, what he looks for. From a candidate point of view, we just really get to understand Marcus a lot more about his mindset, his culture, and just really what motivates him of bringing firms and talented mortgage brokers together. So let's get Marcus onto the podcast. So welcome onto the podcast, Marcus. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Craig. Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good, and thanks so much for agreeing to come onto the podcast. And I'm excited we've had a few discussions before, but getting some real detail about recruitment and mortgage brokers coming into the mortgage broking world and the rest of it. And I know you're keen with your social media, you're posting every day, you've got your videos on there as well. So I'm just keen to explore the whole Marcus and what's going on in his head and just that sort of thing. So is that all right?
No, I'd love to. I'd love to talk about myself. I do that all day long. Mortgage brokers and me is my specialist subject. So yeah,
that's it. Perfect podcast then, perfect situation. So first of all, Marcus, for those people that don't know who you are, do you want to do a bit of an introduction in your sort of journey into financial services or particularly mortgage broking recruitment?
I'm Marcus Nanson and I own NRG Resourcing. So we are a mortgage broker specific recruitment company. So we are inch wide, mile deep. That's all we do. We don't deal with anything, financial planners, anything along those lines. We're purely mortgages. My background is I came from commercial finance just before the wonderful 2008, 2009 crash. And I still needed to feed my kids. So couldn't sell property anymore, couldn't sell commercial properties particularly. But I did have lots of friends in finance who were looking for jobs. So that's how the recruitment side of things came about. So I've only ever worked for myself. I've never worked in a proper recruitment company. I've never worked for a big corporate, so I could be doing it completely wrong, but we're doing okay.
Well, it's like you're doing everything right so far. So and self-taught, so you can't beat self-taught. That's a good way of doing it.
It just seems really obvious that it's about mortgage brokers. It's about them. So I don't know how much they can teach you. Obviously, I imagine there's a fair amount, but what I do like about the small business side of things and especially with mortgage broking is that I get to speak to decision makers all the time. So that kind of tendering for business, PSL business, that is completely something I'm not interested in. I love speaking to decision makers and I love speaking to brokers because they're my people. I get it. So yes, it fits.
Good. I think we're going to get onto the recruitment side of things, but I just wanted to talk a little bit first of all about social media, your LinkedIn profile. You love doing the videos on there.
Yeah. I think it was like I say love. It's it's sort of with everyone. You need to do it at the beginning, but then it got really good traction, and I actually really enjoyed. Do you know what? I've been doing this kind of 2008, so 12. About 12 years. I honestly feel like I've been doing it for about 12 months. I feel like I'm brand new in it because with the videos and the social media side of things and about adding value, I don't think people know how much you can give. Do you know what I mean? And that's on the mortgage broker side and recruitment side or any industry. I don't think you appreciate how much knowledge you pick up that you can share with people, and the rest of it just kind of falls into place. So although I've been doing it a long time, the social media thing's very new, the kind of podcasting is very new, but I absolutely love it. I love giving away the value that we've picked up, and it's easy for me to do because I speak to great brokers all the time. So, it's just put them together.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think we seem to have sort of turned the whole mortgage brokering on its head really with regards to there's certain people that are really about educating, giving free stuff away, sharing, and really sort of like you've over the years you've sort of acquired so much knowledge that you don't even realize. It's the same for me of running a business, like being a mortgage broker. You don't realize how much is going on in here that you can share. And what a great, I don't know, like you're motivated by
100%. You don't know. I think before you start, you probably might come across this at the beginning. you just feel like no one's really going to care what you've got to say, because it's you already know it, and you don't. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but you're not aware of how much you picked up, do you? So at the beginning, you're kind of like, hopefully this helps someone, but helps loads of people. New brokers, but also I speak to older brokers that you might have to go through hours of mind crap to get a golden nugget for yourself, but at the same time, that does make a difference to people's businesses, and that feels great. And the result is that we are very lucky. We're very grateful for the amount of business we get, but that is a result of just giving stuff away. And if you'd said that to me 3 years ago, I would have thought you were mental, because giving stuff away for free just seemed like a mad concept. I thought I should charge for my consultancy basis, let alone my recruitment, but actually it's just different market and a different world. This is the world we live in. But I love it.
It is, because people are like, because you're going out into the marketplace, giving free stuff away, educating people. If then as a firm, I'm looking to recruit somebody, I'm going to reach out to somebody that I know and trust, and even though I don't know you and we've never spoken before, I still feel as though I know you because of the videos and the education and it's like-minded, isn't it? You want to deal with like-minded people. That's the thing, Marcus. You want
Definitely.
to be.
You just I don't know how you can. I mean, recruitment as the technical side of recruitment, you can kind of teach anyone to do that. But like you say, it's the trust side of things. It's knowing that someone's knowledgeable about your market, and how do you get that across on a marketing email and that kind of thing. So this stuff is golden, because there are obviously people who are quite knowledgeable that aren't prepared to put in the hours of the value add stuff. And and like I said before, we are reaping the benefits of that, but you still have to dig in. You know what I mean? You still have to do it. But it's it's an interesting. I think it's turned recruitment on its head. It's probably turned mortgage advising on its head as well, especially the recruitment side, because I speak to people all the time and say, "Oh, I've seen this guy online. What do you think?" I think we talked about it, didn't we? When people have asked me about you, and I said, "Look, I don't know Craig personally, but I know that he adds a lot of value, and for that, if you're a new person coming onto the market, that means that he's going to train you well, because you're already giving it away for free. If someone's going to make you money, you're going to be giving it away tenfold. So it's it's the way the business is kind of passed on.
I think you either get it or you don't. I think that's like, there's firm business owners that reach out to me and say, "Well, like, what do you get out of it? Why would you do this? Why do you spend all your time doing this? Why do you spend?" And they'll just never. And I get that, because I didn't get it. Like you said 3 years ago, like 4
it's
years
easy to know.
for me,
You don't
I
know
didn't
what
get
you
it
don't
either.
know, do you?
No, absolutely. And I think, but like now, it's like surprising. Like, I'm motivated by people reaching out to me that I've never even spoken to before, and just sort of say, "Thank you, like, thanks, like, I've watched your videos, I've learned so much. I'm not joining your firm, I'm not going to be working with you, but I've gone into mortgage broking because I've seen what, like, I've used party videos or all of them, whatever, to help do that." And
incredible
that
feeling, that, isn't
motivates
it?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, don't get too kind of hippie on it, but it is like that's an amazing feeling to have helped someone, even though it hasn't generated you. But 100% of all those people that you're helping does generate revenue for you in the long run, to put pounds and pence on it. But actually, that feeling of helping someone, I get loads of messages on LinkedIn that I remember I would send that to people a few years ago, saying, "Look, your stuff is really useful. It's really helping me." And I get those messages now, and they're amazing. Like, I'm not placing those people necessarily. They might not in the right part of the market for me. I think that's incredible that you can help people like that just by spending 5 minutes of your day putting out a video of something that that they potentially don't yet.
I know the thing is, it's like the knock on of the referrals and things like that. The people will be reaching out to you, Marcus, but like, maybe like you said, those people who you've not placed, but like have watched it, they'll be sort of saying to watch Marcus, contact Marcus, look at what he's got going on. And I think it's just building that brand from your point of view. Because like, I know, like, for me, recruiting advisors or like, I'd be reaching out to you because we've got that relationship going on. And like you say, you're giving a load of free stuff. Well, as a business owner, and I'm talking to you about the type of candidate I want, the culture of the firm, all those things which are massively important from my point of view. And I'm looking forward to getting your opinion on that in a second. But it's just like, that's the big thing for it, really. It's that sort of, you building your brand and not doing it thinking, right, I'm going to like Craig's going to ring me today, and I'm going to get and I've not got any calls now. I've stopped getting the calls from people looking for work, so I'm going to stop. The videos aren't working. I'm stopping doing that. It's just like you've got to have the long-term mentality with it.
Definitely, yeah, long term, because for a while nothing happens. But the same as anything, isn't it? I think that's the difference between successful people and non-successful. And I know I harp on about success. I've put in the videos, I'm borderline obsessed with what makes successful brokers successful. I just think it's really interesting. And the more you kind of delve into it, I end up, really down the rabbit hole of why people are really good, And yeah, that's definitely a massive part of it.
No, definitely. I think the thing is, it's just then people are going to, the long term, it's then they've got that relationship with you, and where they go, and that sort of few years later they're moving on in 10 years later, and it's sort of, you will stick in the mind. I can remember the name of the person that recruited me into estate agency mortgage services. I've not spoken to him since. I had a great relationship with him.
He stitched you up there, didn't he? He's got
Yeah, exactly. He certainly did. Yeah, exactly. Certainly did. Yeah, I remember it for the right reasons. He was like, there was a method in his madness, but
I'm only
thing
joking.
is,
Yeah, I know this.
I know you are. But that thing is, the good people, you remember their names. You'll go back to those people because you're in it for the long term. I'm in the long term. They're in it for the long term. So then they're naturally going to be still doing what they're doing because they do what they do well. So you going back in 10 years time going, I want this now, or I need this, or I'm like looking for this, or they're going to come to you because you've done the right thing from the first time. You'll do the right thing for them again.
Do you know what? Actually, it's true. Even though I haven't always done the video stuff or the social media stuff, I have always pride ourselves on doing the right thing. And I've got guys who walked into my office 10 years ago and said, look, I want to be a mortgage broker. And I probably didn't give them enough time of day because you get so many of them that aren't doing it. And I said, go and get your CMAPs and come back, and then we'll have a chat. But then the guys come in with their CMAP 6 months later and go, look, I've done it. Come on, you said. So then I've got to knuckle down because I've said to that guy, go and do it, I'll find you a job. But then I've got those guys now are clients. That's the crazy thing, that's you stick to doing the right thing and you stick to helping those people out. These guys are people that pay me now. The circle does work.
It does. And like you say, it does work because that's the thing for you. Like you're recruiting brokers who ultimately long term will have their own brokerage, have their own firms, and they're just going to come back to you. Like, so it's just natural that they build that trust up with you. So in terms of looking at from, how do you recruit? How do you get candidates? How do you sort of what's your process in terms of do you reach out or people come to you, or?
We're lucky to have both. And people will moan about a candidate-driven market. And I'll say this now, I'll never moan about it because I'm grateful for a candidate-driven market because that's what my job is. I see recruiters every day on LinkedIn moaning there's no candidates. Number one, that's a mindset issue. I come to work every day to speak to candidates. I come to work, I am grateful for the fact that today I'm going to speak to however many I decide to speak to that day. I'm going to speak to 5 great people today. So those people that sit down at their desk and go, stick another advert on, nothing's working. You don't deserve it in this market. You really don't. And maybe that's like patronizing to some people, but you don't, because one, you're not adding any value. You're coming in straight away with that mindset. And I speak to recruiters not even in this market, and I say to them, stop saying there are no candidates, because you're instantly setting your mind to, well, it's not my fault. Of course I didn't make any calls today. There's no one around. Whereas we are of the opposite mindset. I am speaking to candidates day in, day out. We have got more offers in the last 2 months than most broker recruiters have spoken to. And that's not being big-headed. That is just because we have got a mindset of, this is our job. This is what people are paying us for, and we get paid well for it. So let's not take that for granted. Let's actually go out. But in regards to the process, we've got to reach out. You've got to reach out to everyone. You've got to have those touch points, like the social media side of things. I want everyone, when they're looking for a job, to think of me. And that's a full-time job, isn't it? You know that with mortgages, that's marketing yourself is a full-time job. I've got amazing recruiters around me as well, who we also split up the process. So I don't believe that someone who is amazing at like the client side of things. I love speaking to clients. I love small business. I love growing businesses. There are people better than me who can speak to candidates because they're slightly more nurturing on that side. So they work with me. So we don't do the 360. those guys that are struggling to find candidates and they've got like, I've got 40 jobs and no candidates. Well, that's your issue. You know, why you need to find someone who's good at the other stuff. So I'm surrounded by brilliant people. That's the thing that kind of separates us. But yeah, splitting that process up and yeah, just making sure that every time a broker thinks about recruitment, they think about us. But that's the main goal.
And like you say, that you're working on that day in, day out. You've taken responsibility for that, Marcus. You're not blaming anybody else. You are out there doing what you're doing, and like you say, because that's you taking responsibility for what your mindset's right. You've got your growth mindset rather than your fixed one, and looking at those things, which is well, that's great because you can then capitalize on those people that are sat there going, I've got 40 jobs to fill and I've got no candidates.
The worst thing is they all get together and talk about it. It's like brokers getting together and whinging, you know, these forums about how hard it is. Like, and it is, and my job, I do think is easier to talk about with brokers because we're in the same sort of business. You know, we're a service business. So it's easy to sit there and say the rates are going up or people aren't changing or we have problems there. But it blows my mind. I speak to brokers that didn't make any money last year. You know, they'll say, oh, it's because of COVID. I'm like, you made that decision before that you weren't going to make it because everyone had a good year. You know what I mean? We're one of the industries that we should all be very grateful for it, but we weren't hit that hard. We had 2 or 3 months where we all had to dig in. But so I think, yeah, definitely a mindset side of things. But and I think it works for brokers as well as recruiters. You know, it's too easy to sit there and say it's hard.
It is. I think that's like you dealing with like in recruitment, you're dealing with people as a mortgage broker, you're dealing with people and you're building rapport with your clients, you've got your clients, and like you say, he's building the rapport with those clients. Like we've got clients as a mortgage broker, you've got clients from a recruitment point of view. It's still a service, it's still all about trust, rapport, honesty, doing what you say you're going to do, and that's
the only difference is your mortgage product doesn't just disappear and stop answering the phone halfway through the process. That's the only difference.
To be fair, Marcus, I'm with because like I do like from obviously running my firm, I do recruit people, and I've in the past because I that's why I take my hat off to you because I worked in recruitment a long time ago, a long time ago, and I think I lasted about 6 months because my frustration was I thought everybody was like me, so I would answer people calls, I would ring them back, I would do what I'm saying I'm going to do. If I've got an interview booked in, I would turn up for that interview, whereas you don't get that luxury.
People don't. Unfortunately, no, we don't get the privilege of people. And also, you know, you can contact me in 500 different ways now. You know, you could send a one-word WhatsApp to me, send a carrier pigeon through, you know, I'll get it through the window. Just let me know. But I think it's happening more and more. And I don't know if that's because we are in a generation of like, people don't particularly like to get told off anymore. They don't like to let people down and it's easy to ghost. You know, look at people on dating. I mean, I've got a wife and stuff, so I don't need to go on those, but I know that it happens. You know, you'll meet conversation with people and they just disappear. And it's no different to, you know, the market we're in. That people, I think, again, a little bit on the mindset side as well, that we don't tend to get it as much anymore, but I think we get a lot more buy-in now. And we do that through certain processes we do. Like for instance, we do the first interview for our clients. So we do you don't get a CV from us, you get a CV and a video interview. And if people can't be bothered to do that with us, we won't send them because there's a very good chance they'll drop out during the process. So it does give us, we get slightly more of a buy-in than we do, say, if you're just chucking out CVs all day, because they don't owe you that much. Whereas I feel like we put time and effort and we partner with people properly, so they kind of do owe us. But doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because I can get that to the third interview stage with a 120 grand mortgage sales manager, and they still go on holiday when they should be on an interview. It happens.
Like I say, it does happen. I think, and that's interesting to like move on to that, because your LinkedIn profile, your statement is about finding, and I know we talked a little bit offline about this before, but it's about finding the right person that matches that culture, the values of that firm. That you strongly believe that.
100%. I do think there's a place for everyone. I don't think we can place everyone, but you can't just be chucking CVs out in this game. It's too, you know, this is a different market now. I mean, you could before. I mean, potentially when I started, because you used to have no jobs, loads of candidates. People were chucking CVs everywhere, but that's not the game. You know, the game is finding someone's culture out the gate. And also, we charge money for this. So if you wanted a CV service, I would say to everyone, go on Indeed, sift through those 500 awful CVs you get. You might get lucky. If you've got the time to do that, go and do it. If you want a proper service where someone learns your culture and you have someone dedicated to getting your brand out there, which is super important, because if you get, say, 3 or 4 recruiters that muddy the water, all of a sudden you're that mortgage broker that's always recruiting, and that, you know, nobody needs that. So you've got to partner with the right people. But and again, that's that partnership side of things. I think that's the added value side of things, where it's not a CV chucking service, because I'd love it if people do their own recruitment first. It makes my job much easier trying to explain what we do, because it's a horrible experience for a lot of people.
Yeah. That's it, because like it's the time thing. It's about going onto CV Library, going onto Indeed or whatever, and just sit there trawling through the CVs and putting the keywords into match and stuff like that. But it's just,
and
it's
just so you know, like only it's something like 7% of our CVs come from online job boards, because good brokers are not sat with their CV on Indeed.
No.
That's no detriment to people that are on there, but good quality brokers who are making making good money for someone, there's got to be a really good reason for them to move, and they're not just sat there hoping that you're going to pluck them out of the sky. You've got to be in touch with them, you know, and that is the difference. And that's why people who want to do it themselves end up with really mediocre workforces, because what you've got is the best people that you could find out of the 7% of people that we could find, you know, and that's why you don't. That's what, you know, that's the growth side of things. But
and just to find people reach out, like you say, it's the more cost, it's cheaper way of doing it, but obviously time wise, and it's not, because
oh god, yeah,
it's
only cheaper if you can find them.
I know, exactly, yeah, exactly. But I think, like, how do you work then with firms? What do you sit down with the principal, the MD, understand the culture, talk to advisors there? What goes on from a firm recruiting point of view?
Exactly those things. So I always speak to the decision maker. I love doing those calls. I get it. I love the talk about the growth and that side of things. I am not a details person. I'm a bigger picture. I'm quite emotional. So I'm like, wow, what's this going to look like at the end? You know, I like that. But I have very process driven people with me who also join me in these meetings, because I could walk out of a 2-hour meeting and love the people and can't wait to grow their business and not pick up a job spec. So I know the bits that I'm not brilliant at, and I'm surrounded by those people. So I've also got, like I said, my process candidate delivery people who will get every single part of it. I could tell you about culture. I could tell you about how great someone is. I might miss whether they've got parking, you know, that kind of thing. So I've got someone who does that, is very much more detailed than me. So across it, we cover every aspect. Because yeah, like you can tell when you speak to me, I get super excited about something, and if I'm speaking to someone analytical, they want to know more on, you know, they want stats, proof, that kind of thing, and I'm like, why? It's brilliant. I told you it's brilliant. Why don't you love it? So we cover all the bases with making sure we do a thing called talent dynamics. I don't know if you've heard of it, where every one of our team has had their mind. I know that I can't do admin, and now they've sort of given me an out to say it's not your fault. Your brain doesn't function that way.
Right.
So we've all got we around the like the disc profiling. You know, we're just making sure we cover all the bases. Yeah, so we cover all the bases with everyone we've got. So to make sure we get it right. But yeah, you've got to find out about culture. You can't just be going. And also, I think questioning people, like, why do you want to do that? And if you're not confident in your job, or you're too scared to lose the business, you're not going to be a good recruiter. Because I say to people, that doesn't sound right. Like, you want a trainee, but your biggest issue is you don't have time, because you want to save money, so you want to get a trainee. Those two don't match up. So if you haven't got the guts to say that, and they say, okay, yeah, I'll go and find you a trainee. One, that trainee's not going to last a minute because you haven't got time to train them. Two, they're going to be exchanging money for something that's not right for their business. But so it might be like an age thing. I've been in it a long time, but it is useful to be able to ask some of the questions and actually do a proper consultation side of things, you know, actually consult with someone, not just go, yeah, okay, order taking. I would define those recruiters. I don't want to slate any big mortgage companies now and get told off, but you know the ones I mean.
I can bleep out later.
Yeah, okay. And country, where they just they just order take, and there's loads, and you know what I mean. So they don't. The guys aren't they follow a certain process, and if it's really easy, they can do it. If they can't, they're binned off the wayside. And I think you could make that mistake with both. You could look at easy money in recruitment and just say yes to everything and then try and send CVs, but that's not the way to do it. And much the same as the best mortgage brokers don't do that. They charge money because they're good at what they do, because they listen to you. And if that's not the right advice, they give it. And if you haven't got the confidence to do that, then I think both for mortgages and recruitment, you're half the salesperson you should be.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think we talked a little bit about like fees and stuff like that, because not from your fee point of view, but just overall in terms of a mindset of a mortgage broker and the fees they charge and why they charge those fees and the features and benefits and things like that. And it's just the same thing. Yes, you can go out there and there's a cheap service where you can go and find the mortgage yourself, or there's the like substandard service, shall we say. And not all brokers who don't charge fees are substandard service.
No, I didn't. I'm not just talking about the non-fee. I'm not just talking about the non-fee guys. Just to be clear, there are some great non-fee charging brokers, but I'm talking about the sausage factories that are they're nearly robo advice,
Yeah. But there's good grounding for some of those people, but then you tend to find that those people will lift their head up at some stage and go, do you know what? Surely there's more out there than this. Surely there's more that I can be doing than in this sausage factory or whatever. And then that's when you want them to reach out to you and go, do you know what? Let's find out about you. Let's find out about who you really are, because they don't care about who you are. They don't care about your family, your kids, what you're doing in the background.
If you've got CMAP and you can work 12 hours a day, they will have you on their phones. Yeah. That's not my kind of recruitment, it might be good for sales. Someone's making money out of it, but that's not my cup of tea.
But that's like I say, just throw as many CVs at you all as you can get, and then you'll find that some of them will stick, but it's how long they stick for. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I take people from those people all the time. I'm doing it this week. I'm getting an offer for someone, and I have to ask them the right questions as to why you're leaving. And when they say just hate the way they do business, I'm like, say no more, because I hate the way they do business. So we are kindred spirits. And every one of my customers hates the way they do business, because that's the people you work. That's, again, surrounding yourself with the like-minded people. It makes it so much easier.
It does. And I think like what you sort of said there about, there are plenty of candidates out there looking to get into mortgage broking who are working on the CMAPs and doing all those sorts of things. But I sort of see where there is so many of those people, like going back to what you said about the trainee, where people are matching those people up, the new brokers with the CMAP in the hand, who say, right, and they've said, right, you've got firm A wanting a trainee, I've got my trainee, and you put them together. You're not putting this together, but they go together from another recruitment firm. And then like 3 months down the line, I've spoken to quite a lot of those people who have, I talked to yourself about one of those people where she was so like, my heart was wrenching for her, because
we lose them. We lose them from the industry.
Exactly.
We lose them because they think that's mortgage broking.
Yeah, they think that's a no.
Hours explaining to people, please do not take that company as mortgage brokers. Go and speak to someone good who will train you well. Speak to a proper recruiter. Do not go to one of these massive sausage factories where this is what you think mortgage is, because mortgage broking is amazing. Like you're changing people's lives, getting them the most expensive, incredible thing they're ever going to buy for them and their family, and you're stuck in a call center and not being able to help 60% of people because you haven't been trained properly. It's such a waste.
Absolutely, it is. So from a candidate point of view, we talked a little bit about you understanding the culture of the firm and the people, the firm that you're working with, and so then from a candidate point of view, I know there's no ideal candidate, but is there certain things, certain characteristics, certain traits, values that you're looking for with the candidate?
Well, do you know what? Every company's different, so it is nice. I mean, you've got to have a willingness and a hunger. You could go through all the cliche recruitment stuff, but I tell you what, I'm placing a guy at the moment who hasn't done very well in his first year. I spoke to him, and numbers-wise, most people wouldn't touch him, but there's some really good firms who will look at it if they've got the right hunger and drive. And when something just kind of clicked, and number one, I tell you what I loved is I got on the phone to him and I said, "What do you want out of your next business?" He said, "I've written it down," and that was like that's music to my ears. And I said, "So what are you going to bring?" And he said, "I've written that down too." So I'm thinking, this guy is serious. He's a young broker. He hasn't produced much business. So I said, look, your CV is not going to sell to anyone, but let's get on a video call. Let's get it. And I've got in front of 2 people. I'm going to get 2 offers. And that is because you have to think a little bit outside of this guy makes 120 grand. This guy does 50% protection penetration. You know, there's more to it, but it's all different. It depends.
I think
I also speak to people I can't place. Because...
Yeah, well, I'm going to say I wasn't going to ask that question, but I'm sure there's people that you sort of that's they're thinking, well, there's no chance I'm going to be able to place you with any, or want to put you in any situation with any firm that I work with, because yeah, they're more likely to let you down than do what you need to, than what they should be doing.
Yeah, that happens. But I mean, that's the same as you can't place every mortgage. You can't place every person you speak to. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right.
No.
But we have to accept those. You cannot, again, I want to go recruitment cliche, but you can't hit the square peg in the round hole. You know, as much as we want to help everyone, and we've learned that because I think everyone should be placed, and I hate letting people down and that kind of thing. But actually, I might not be the best person for someone. They might be better suited to go and work in that sausage factory for a year if they just don't have an understanding of what a mortgage broker should be like. You know, those places are still full. There are people that work there.
Yeah, but they're still churning them out, like you said. The factory will still churn those people out, and there's people that stick within that factory, and there's people that will leave fairly quickly. But that's their place in the marketplace, kind of thing, which is not, like you say, it's not what you're about, and it's certainly not what we're about as a firm. It's just I like brokers that I work with, because for me, it's always about brokers that I know the names of the kids, the families, all like the partners, all those things, because that's important to me. We're not a factory, we're not in a factory environment. It's that sort of like you're not going to get you get those people who will sell the role and be telling them what they should be doing and why they should be doing it. And yes, you're going to earn 6 figures, and yeah, you should be earning 100 grand in your first year, 150 and all that sort of stuff. And then they have a conversation with me, sort of like, no, you won't.
Well, I speak to people who with the same ilk when I say, look, this is what you'll make first year. This is what they are making at the moment. This is, if you hit your target, which is achievable, this is the figure you'll come up with. And someone will come back to me and go, oh, there's another recruiter I spoke to, and they've said it's 90 grand on target earnings. I'm like, well, on target earnings is a bullshit number. Yeah, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. We were talking about similar jobs. I mean, we're quite lucky now. This is back when we used to compete with other recruiters. Everything we do is exclusive. But they'd say, yeah, well, I probably want to go through them because they're saying the OTE is higher. I'm like, it's the same job. I don't think people understand what the recruiter isn't the be all and end all of that position. It's how hard you work when you get there is the difference. But back to your point, you've got to be realistic with people. 6 figures in the first year is amazing if you're working for somewhere ridiculous and you get super lucky. But what is that? 0.1% of people are going to do that in their first 2 years, first 3 years.
Yeah. It's the 0.1%, which obviously people strive to be the 0.1% and thinking that's what I can do, I can achieve it. That's great. Absolutely.
It's great. Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what your aspirations are. That's fine. But like you say, you need to be realistic at the same time in terms of what you're doing, because especially if you're new to the industry, you're learning to be a broker. You've got a lot of learning to do in those first 2 years of the hardest slog.
Yeah. Yeah. I do say that to people. I mean, I do have a thing about like the kind of, and I know you can have really successful people with it. You need to be able to train new brokers, because there's too many that are dumped at the back of estate agents, or they're dumped at home and go get your leads, go generate it. You know, you've got to train these people up. You've got to be realistic, and they've got to learn that. It's like the touch points with me. That's why I always liken the two. They're so similar, because I have to keep in contact with everyone. Like if you don't keep in contact with your guy, if you don't keep in contact, and so a mortgage broker phones your guy at the end of his fixed rate, you've lost that person. So they have to understand that it's not just like that numbers game, bang a lead out. Like there's so much more to it than that, isn't there? But as both businesses, recruitment and mortgages, there's so much more involved. But if they're not told that, they're still buying leads 12 years later, and they can't work out where all those fixed rate people have gone.
And there's the same people that last year were sort of saying, yes, I didn't do much business last year because it was because of COVID. It's the same people.
Yeah. But I don't know if those people are told that before. Like, we're going to struggle. So you go to work and you're struggling and everything's hard, and just pick yourself up. Everything, we all get paid well for what we do. We all need to pick ourselves up and get busy. And I don't think people know, I'm going to sound like an old man now, how easy we've got it at the moment. when it's hard, it's still easy, you know. It's still like we're just talking to people. I talk to people for a living. It's bloody amazing. I'm not digging holes. I am so grateful for being able to talk to people every day. So how could I come to work with that mardy attitude that, oh God, it's hard?
Well, they say you go back and like look at where you were before you started this, sort of 12 years ago, whatever it was. You look at where you were then, and that will then think that keeps you motivated, keeps you grounded, making sure you've obviously come out the other side and built
Yeah.
like a successful business. So it's just, but you've made it what you made it, sort of thing. So
Oh God,
that's testament to you.
but I don't have to look back 12 years. I have to look back 12 months. I have to look back and remember how far we've come because of the work we're putting in. So, you know, it's not, yeah, I don't have to look back that far. It's just, we changed the business. We wanted to help people, but we didn't get that across because we thought it was really important to look like, you know, look recruiters. But it's the same as mortgage broker. I think it's the shiny suit thing's just changed, isn't it? It's not,
Yeah.
it's much more about adding value, personality, that kind of thing that we missed that. We didn't get it. Like I didn't get it, but now I do, and it pays dividends.
But the beauty of that is, Marcus, that you've adapted. You've experienced, you've done what you've done in recruitment for a number of years. You could have sat back like a lot of people I know and go, well, I'm not adapting. It's like I am what I am, and this is the like, and that's they can't adapt to the market. Whereas you've adapted, you recognise that you recognise first of all that you needed to adapt, which is a big thing, and then you've gone on and actually not just thought about, I need to adapt and then done, we'll just continue doing what we've done, always done, and that will always what it is. It's like you've adapted the same as like from my friend and business point of view, it's the same as you. It's like I recognize like education, like helping people and supporting people and doing all those things to then who aren't necessarily working within the business. I was very insular with CS Mortgage Solutions, CS Financial Group. It was like outside, well, I'm going to help those people. It's like, well, it's just lifting your head up and going, do you know what? And so then now you've adapted your business immensely over the past however many months it is that you've done that. But you've done that even though you were running before a successful business. So
yeah, do you know what the old way of doing it? Had us nice holidays, kept the kids fed. We got a nice house. You know, I'm not complaining about that, but it wasn't where we'd be. I still feel like I've massively underachieved. Like I should have done this years and years ago. It's probably because I'm turning 40 soon, so it all kind of hit home as to what you know how much you've achieved in comparison to how much you should have. But that is, you're right. I mean, dinosaurs die. There's no, that's what happens, and it's not an age thing either. Because I speak to brokers who are like, I still want those brokers that won't sit down till they've got a deal, and you know, this new generation won't work. I'm like, no one's changing for you. Change or die, because the market is changing. So people that, I hate the word snowflake and that kind of thing, but older brokers love to use it, and they go, you know, we can't be dealing with these sorts of people. I'm like, well, your last broker is going to retire and you're going to be stuck with no one. So change, adapt, work to how people want to work now. And if you don't like it, change and move, because it's not going to change back for you. No one's going back to the way we used to work.
No, I think absolutely. No, I think that's goes hand with things that I've talked about in the past. And as a firm, as a person, I recruit inexperienced people. I would rather give people a chance so those people with the C maps in the hand going, I want a chance. This is something I want to do, and I want to prove to you that I can do it. Because there is so many doors out there that are closed for those people going, well, have you got 2 years experience? No, I haven't. Well, come back when you have. I think that's like, I understand why firms do that. Exactly. That's the thing. That for me is I think that's and I'm probably being very blunt here, but I think that's an arrogant way of doing something, because it's like saying, you go out there, find somebody else that's going to train you up, show you what to do all those sorts of things, and then come back in 2 years' time and then I'll look after it. It's like, who are you?
Of course you will. Yeah,
who
exactly. Yeah. I think it's the same as the ones. Oh, what we want is 20 people with their own client bank, and we'll pay them X amount from it. I'm like, yeah, of course you do. I want someone to work for me and give me all their business. You know, that's like you say, it's arrogant to go, what am I bringing to the table? You know, why is someone going to come work for me? Because too many people go, and it doesn't happen much more now. And I do think it's an education thing there. I said, why would I leave my job to come and work for you? And people say, because we're brilliant. I'm like, okay, define that. Define brilliance. Yeah. What do you mean? Oh, people like working there. How? Tell me something, because you haven't retained any of your staff. So So I think you get like that arrogant owner, and I do get it, because I think working for me is brilliant, and I probably don't keep everyone I should, but you've got to be self-aware, haven't you, and business aware, commercially aware, to go, what are we actually offering? Why would they leave? What are we going to bring to the table? Because it's I say a two-way street. It's kind of flipped all the way back to it. There's a lot of options out there for people at the moment. So don't just think, well, why wouldn't someone want to come and work for me? It's why I would.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they don't. Sometimes it's very much, for a lot of people, the ones I've spoken, like people that I've spoken to, it's not always about the financial side of things. The financial things are important, absolutely. You don't want to get screwed over. But a lot of people I'm finding more is it's about the culture, it's about the support and the help and things like that, rather than actually, oh, they're going to give me 1% more than that, and they do that. It's like, well, that's all well and good, but if they're not creating, you'll be back in the same position you will be, because
it's hard to explain to someone new, though. It's hard to explain that when someone
absolutely.
says, when they go, oh, well, their network fees are £100 less, and I'm like, but they're not providing you with anything, and they're looking at the £100, and I say, until I can try and get that £100 out of your head, like it's useless to be talking to you, because it doesn't matter what I say, you're fixated on that fee, and that, I think if you haven't come from the industry as well, it's hard, because you're thinking about scrimping and saving, and that extra 5%, extra 2%. But I know people who've joined high net worth brokers where guys are earning nearly £1 million and they're only earning 60. And I know people who are doing first time buyers in a market that's not supposed to be as affluent, and they are making six figures. So it's not about the jumping after the cash. It's about going somewhere where you fit, and you fit the culture, and you fit, because the money will happen. If you're a good broker, you'll make money. So I wouldn't worry too much about that 75, 73. He charges £100. It's irrelevant. You've got to look at the whole picture.
Definitely. Marcus, I've taken up 40 so minutes of your time, and I think that...
God, I've been banging on for 40 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. No, we've had a great conversation, but I think what you've just said there does sum up everything, in terms of what I believe in, and what everything that clearly you believe in that as well.
Definitely. That's what resonated with me when we spoke. Like, I would love to have spoke to you way before we did, because I look at your stuff, and that's how I know that I'm, without even, before I knew you, I would happily say to someone, yeah, that guy knows what he's talking about. I see his stuff, he gives it away for free. So he'll definitely train you. So I love talking to you. I love speaking to brokers who love helping brokers. Surround yourself with those people.
Yeah, definitely. Marcus, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your input. I'd love to. I think we've got so much more to talk about as well, and I think the podcast could go on for hours and hours and hours.
People stopped listening 23 minutes ago.
Yeah, they'll just put it on speed. They'll just put it on twice the speed.
You can't put my voice on speed. It'll sound like too fast.
Yeah, I'm always conscious of that, because I just I get feedback. Talk a bit quick sometimes, like, okay, fine. But then I think, well, because you're probably listening to it twice as fast, and then I sound like a Smurf or something like that. So that's totally different. So, Marcus, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your honesty, your input. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no, I do. Like I say, it's been great, and I've enjoyed sort of getting to know you a lot more, and hopefully we'll get you back on some in the future, and we'll look at how you're adapting further and educating people further.
Yeah, love it. Look forward to it. Thank you, Craig.